Imagine you're walking down the street, and suddenly you bump into a long-lost friend, someone you haven't seen in years, in a place neither of you has ever been before. Strange, right? But what if I told you history is filled with coincidences so bizarre that they defy logic? Let's dive into some of the most mind-blowing real-life coincidences ever recorded. The twin deaths of the Jim twins. Our first story takes us to Ohio, where two twin brothers, separated at birth, lived eerily identical lives without ever knowing each other. Both were named Jim, both had childhood dogs named Toy, and both married women named Linda, only to divorce and later remarry women named Betty. But here's where it gets even weirder. They both had sons whom they named James Allen. They both pursued law enforcement careers. They even vacationed at the same Florida beach. It wasn't until they finally met at age 39 that they discovered how eerily identical their lives had been. How could two strangers, separated since birth, live parallel lives with such uncanny precision? Coincidence or something more? The curious case of the identical neighbors. In 1920, a baby named Joseph Figlock had the most unusual talent, being in the wrong place at the right time. While walking down a Detroit street, a 1-year-old baby fell from a 4th-story window and landed right on Joseph's shoulders. Miraculously, both survived with only minor injuries. A year later, in the exact same spot, another baby fell from the same building and landed on the same man. At this point, Joseph might have started walking with a helmet. But seriously, what are the odds of two separate babies falling from the sky onto the same person, 1 year apart? The Lincoln and Kennedy connection. Everyone knows Abraham Lincoln and John F. Kennedy were both iconic U.S. presidents, but did you know their lives and deaths share uncanny parallels? Both had 7 letters in their last names. Both were elected exactly 100 years apart, Lincoln in 1860, Kennedy in 1960. Both had vice presidents named Johnson, Andrew Johnson for Lincoln, Lyndon B. Johnson for Kennedy. Both were assassinated on a Friday while sitting next to their wives. Lincoln was shot in Ford's theater, Kennedy in a Lincoln car made by Ford. And here's the real kicker. Lincoln's secretary was named Kennedy and warned him not to go to the theater. Meanwhile, Kennedy's secretary was named Lincoln and warned him not to go to Dallas. So, was history just playing a cruel joke, or was there something deeper at work? The Titanic's chilling prediction. In 1898, an author named Morgan Robertson wrote a novel called Futility, or The Wreck of the Titan. The story? A massive, unsinkable luxury ship named the Titan hits an iceberg in the North Atlantic and sinks. Sounds familiar? 14 years later, the Titanic, an unsinkable ship, hit an iceberg in the North Atlantic and sank. But it gets creepier. The book described a lack of lifeboats, a collision on a cold April night, and nearly identical dimensions and speeds between the fictional Titan and the real Titanic. Did Robertson just make a wild guess? Or was this a chilling case of fiction predicting reality? The bullet that waited 20 years. This one sounds like it belongs in a movie. In 1893, Henry Ziegland broke off his engagement. His heartbroken fiancée took her own life, and in revenge, her brother shot Ziegland, believing he had killed him. But fate had other plans. The bullet only grazed Henry's face and lodged into a tree behind him. He survived, and life went on. 20 years later, Ziegland decided to cut down that same tree. Since it was too thick, he used dynamite to blow it up. And guess what? The explosion dislodged the bullet, which had been sitting in the tree for 20 years, and sent it flying straight into Henry's head, instantly killing him. Talk about a delayed fate. Coincidences are everywhere, but some are so bizarre they make us question reality itself. Were these just random events, or is there something deeper guiding the course of history? What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. And if you want more mind-blowing stories like these, hit that like and subscribe button, because trust me, we're just getting started.